Episode 498 of the TV Dudes, recorded August 1st, 2024. UnPrisoned, a Patreon listener request. This week, we're wishing John Paul Vitale a happy birthday and diving into his most recent Patreon selection, UnPrisoned.
I believe you mean free.
What?
Unprisoned is not a word. It's not a word. It's made up.
All words are made up, Nick. Stay woke.
Woke of what? It should be imprisoned or paroled. Like unprisoned is not.
No, that doesn't sound nearly as catchy.
Well, it's not catchy because it's catchy. It's catchy because it's not a word.
Well, you know what is a word? Introductions.
Sure, I guess I can't. Logically, I can't argue with that. Also, Nick is a word, and that's what I am. I'm Nick.
And I'm Les. And we're the TV Dudes.
Which, of words.
This week, we are back with a tune-in question.
TV Dudes, tune in.
Best streamer. Stars, Apple, who you got? What gets your subscription going?
Now, that's an interesting, I don't think we've ever done this poll, but I actually, as TV Dudes, we hop around from streaming services as well. But normally, we're got our toes at least in almost all of them every once in a while. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't say that we have like a soulmate, lifelong love of a streaming network. I'd say we're kind of wanderers.
Well, I mean, even us, we talk about MGM Plus shows, and I gotta figure
right.
that, like, who the fuck is...
You mean epics?
the fact that any MGM Plus show has gotten a season 2 is fucking beyond me. Like,
yeah, I mean, well, Apple's just got deep pockets, but
that's right. It was called Epics before.
Mm-hmm. EPIX. Epics.
You know what? MGM Plus is better. It's more generic, but Epics sucks.
Like, right. At least MGM has some kind of brand trade.
Yeah. But yeah, what are the answers here? Oh, I see McElwain had a...
Yeah, Dennis McElwain says he enjoys free trials. Can't blame you there. He says if it costs more than $0, its service is pants McPants face. Mic drop and cross arms.
So I'm assuming he's a fan of Tubi and Freevee and the streaming services like that.
And such.
And honestly, those streaming services have gotten
Pretty
low-key
great.
better. Normally, Tubi was the place to go where, like, they'd have a few options, but it was kind of like, you know, you'd watch the Sharktopus movies on there.
Right.
But man, lately, like, I mean, especially when WB just dumped all their shit onto all the other streaming services.
And like Max just dumped it all onto other places.
I mean, yeah, man, there was a time where I would have actually put Max in one of the top, not Max, I would have put HBO Max.
Right,
in one
or
of the
HBO
top
Go.
tier. Or I would have put them in the top tier contender, or HBO Now.
Yeah,
the first
whatever
one.
it was.
Man, they've rebranded a couple times. It's just been a solid like half a decade of fucking up over there.
We're gonna get back to HBO. Like, whoo, glad that was over.
Like, oh, it was like some new Coke bullshit.
Like we don't know what happened there. It's a fugue state. Kessel Run says Prime for me currently.
Honestly, I can kind of see that.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, they're picking up things that you wish the aforementioned Max would have done.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to talk about the new Batman animated series.
Absolutely. They saved Minx, right?
Right. Was it? Did they save Minx?
I think it was them, right?
Or did Stars?
Or was it
no,
Stars?
Max and it jumped to Stars because Stars could not have paid for that. Max already paid the budget on that show.
Right.
Yeah. No, but Prime's, I mean, The Boys, Gen V.
Well, they also picked up Vox Machina.
That's right.
They're
much to Randy's chagrin.
They're trying to be Netflix in the fact of like giving other things a shot. I mean, we made fun of them for a while of being prestige okay.
Right. They were prestige men for me.
They're still kind of that.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Ring of Power. What was the other? They did.
I mean, we hate Invincible, but
I hate Invincible.
They did Wheel of Time. Like, I don't think fantasy is really their strong suit.
No, they did. Yeah, they're dull for me on fantasy, but they definitely have the pockets, and let's put that evil to use. Birthday boy John Paul Vitale says, I could say Apple Plus or Peacock or Hulu, which is definitely my favorite of the mainstream streamers, but gonna get niche as all get out. You know he can. Let's go on a ride. AMC Plus, yeah, it's good, and it includes Shudder and Sundance Now, but I want to get even more niche. BritBox. Okay, they have plenty of shows, mostly from the UK, shows that were huge hits over there just a week or so before they hit the air in the States. Very cool. They also have a lot of older stuff and the British soap operas. Then there's Acorn TV. Kyle, are you listening? Acorn TV has a bunch of shows of varying types, not all British, though they don't add new stuff as often as BritBox. There's MHZ Choice.
Well, I assume if it's Acorn TV, they don't add things up until the hibernation season when they add to their Acorn stash.
Right. Like I gotta say, I've heard and watched stuff on Acorn TV before. What we are about to step like Indiana Jones blind faith onto the optical illusion bridge here. I don't know if these exist. There is MHZ Choice, which recently merged with another streaming service called Topic. Did it? Prove it.
Okay.
This feels like a John Oliver thing. Like he's challenging me to Google a thing, and he knows I won't Google it. They have a good selection of old and new drama, mostly from all over Europe. You want to watch just 2 shows at the moment? Then there's a streaming service called The Network, though they promise that there are new shows coming soon. Like, that's fucking hilarious. Holy crap.
I love that it's just generic The Network.
Right.
And then they have to like
2
promise
shows. We swear there's shows coming. Do you like college humor? Subscribe to Dropout. Only want to watch British stand-up comics? Can I introduce you to Next Up Comedy? And lastly, do you want to watch Scandinavian trauma shows and a few Scandinavian comedies? I don't know if that's because the network only licensed a few Scandinavian comedies or if that's just the proportion in their population. But it's called Viaplay, and it is the streaming channel for you. John Paul's actual top 5: Acorn TV, number 4 BritBox, number 3 Apple TV Plus, number 2 AMC Plus, and number 1 Hulu.
Man, I would say Hulu, except like if we're going by straight just libraries, I would say that like that's a whole different because
now Disney Plus encompasses like
Hulu.
All of these rectangles are all these squares are rectangles, but not all these rectangles are squares.
Well, also like I would say that man, Netflix for me is still the as far as just watching something on there, dead ass simple, doesn't fuck up, doesn't worry about buffer times, subtitles are always correct.
Right,
like,
it is old school.
Whereas
like Hulu, every couple episodes or Peacock, you're gonna have to back out.
When we
jump
click
back
on the button, we still don't. We remember when we were watching Boston Legal and shit like that, where it would just start on a random episode.
Oh man,
what the fuck?
Right. It just picked us up in like I was gonna watch a Boston Legal at that time, which I'd never watched that show before, and I was like, well, okay, Nick, I'll hit play.
5 or some
jump
shit.
me into season, and you were like, no, man, this is way late in the game. What the fuck are you
doing, man?
I'm like, I'm watching the first episode.
I thought you were doing something like, man, why are you watching so far ahead? Like, are you doing a rookie? Like, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Cause and Hulu's like the second oldest streaming service.
Yes.
Why are they not good at this?
No, it's really and they've got Disney money, ABC money.
But even Disney though, even their app has like had their own fuck ups. Especially like, man, we've seen their subtitles. Like we have to like stop and start to get
you have
the
to
subtitles.
back out. Peacock does that too. You have to back completely out of the app and then go back in each episode.
Something we've never dealt with on Netflix. I don't know how Netflix has this just fucking figured out.
They've been going at it since there were physical blockbusters.
Right.
I mean, like they were the first ones to really be like, hey, I think we can stream things over this piece of shit broadband.
Even when you first had Netflix with subtitles? I don't remember having them.
Not with subtitles, though I didn't watch everything with subtitles back then. I held off streaming for the longest time because buffering pissed me off so much and my internet just was not doing it. So like, I don't know what side of the table that problem was on, Netflix or my
Hulu
ISP.
Was really bad with buffering early on. I remember when speeds were just still inconsistent. Netflix was a lot better. Netflix would let you buffer the whole episode, and Hulu would stop you at commercial breaks and like, wouldn't let. And so after a commercial break, you could stop. Man, remember when you would have to stop on a computer and just let that shit run and buffer? You know, and then watch your whatever you were going to watch.
Yeah, preload every YouTube video before you hit play so you don't embarrass yourself in front of your friends.
You could do that with...
I swear it's funny, wait.
And you could do that with Netflix, but not Hulu, because they would only let you buffer to the nearest commercial, which was every like 3 to 5 minutes. And basically like gouging you for that premium subscription, which now they just charge you that and show you ads anyway.
Right,
like,
right. Yeah, we're putting cable back together.
All right.
All right. Well, yeah, I would say that that was a good amount of answers. I enjoyed that question. Thank you all. Let's take a look at our diaries and see what streaming service we've been watching.
The Diaries of the Television Dudes. Brought to you by only the finest cocaine wine.
Let's see.
Because there's the ones that work best, and then there's the ones that have my
What's your
my
favorite
weekly
streaming
fix, man.
server this week? It looked like you were up on
I actually watched a bunch of Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Well, you were watching Supernatural.
That, but I also watched a Cameron, which is on Netflix.
Every time I walked in this week, you were watching Supernatural, and yet I feel like you didn't get it out of season one.
No, we're still somewhere. This is like watching Bob's Burgers. it's always been Wickish.
I'm like, you're on a different episode every time with different. And yet I'm like,
is it a different episode?
Like, dude, are you still on season one? God damn it! There's what 12 seasons of this.
There's 15.
God damn it!
I'm not joking. There's 15. The only reason you can tell the difference is the title cards. They don't age. Sam's hair gets longer.
Like, this is like it's not like a Flash.
Sam's got bangs right now.
It's like a Flash problem with you of like that you'll just never stop watching it. You actually enjoy Supernatural.
Right.
But like,
well, and like, don't threaten me with a good time. We are starting Prison Break soon. And I know it's only 5 seasons, but
dude, we were looking through the episodes on Prison Break, and you got dumb excited for season 4 or whatever.
Well, because like it looks like nonsense, and I've never seen any of it. I didn't know 5 even fucking existed.
Oh well,
there's
5
like
is
9 episodes of sheer madness.
5 is the one that they did afterwards, after a while,
like the Dexter. Like when we were looking through 4, and you were like, "Oh yeah, so it's 22. It looks like 24 episodes, but really those last 2 are a 2-part TV movie."
They did a TV movie.
You are making shit up.
I watched it, dude. I was Prison Break ride or die for when it was out, so I watched up until season 4. I watched all that nonsense.
So this is like when people ask Sons of Anarchy questions, and you just like draw a complete blank, and I'm like, sadly, I have seen all of that.
Well, but then they came
what do you need to know?
But then they like waited 8 years for the 5th season.
Oh my god, is that the gap?
Yeah, there's a huge gap for. Well, honestly, like Fox didn't know what else to. Man, it's hard to describe. Prison Break was a big deal back in the day.
It
Do
really,
our listeners really?
No, I don't think people understand. It was the last time Time Warner Cable would speak to me. On the last time I ever burnt that bridge.
The last time me and Time Warner were on speaking terms.
Well, I had a DVR from them
before the split.
Yeah, I was watching Dexter and Prison Break were what I was DVRing.
How's the shared custody with that DVR nowadays?
I probably still have that device. No, I take that back. I drove to their office and we had a big tearful slap fight in the lobby, and yeah,
you just gave it back to them in the parking lot of a McDonald's.
We did, yeah. Oh, that hurts. That brings back memories. That's too close to home.
Actually, I think I've hit it too close.
Too close to home. Much like UnPrisoned this week.
Forgot who I was talking about.
So let's see. You watched an episode of Ghosts that I watched alongside you, which is a pretty fun sitcom fix. Of course, I've been watching Supernatural. I'm actually just finished season 2. See, at the end of season 1, their dad basically makes a deal with the devil and sacrifices himself so that Dean can live.
Yeah.
And then in season 2, it's not that Eric Kripke's not still in charge, but they add a little guy called Ben Edlund, who invented the tick. And you can feel the writing staff energy change immediately.
Well, I do wonder.
The start of season 2 has Ash, who insists he's got a mullet. He's a crazy redneck. My cousin brother Daryl kind of shit. He's got his own computer that's built out of like the wires are just soldered all the fuck around it and everything. But then at one point he's like, "It's Dr. Badass. Thank you. I went to MIT." And like Sam's like, "MIT? Like, yeah, it's a school in Boston." No, man, I
know what MIT is.
That's not the shock here. I'm watching it going, oh yeah, the dude that wrote the tick is definitely on this season. And yeah, and by the end of season 2, Dean will have done exactly what their dad did and sacrificed his soul to a demon for Sam. And like all of this
now have started, which will start the infinite loop.
Yeah, so and season 2 also is when they accidentally release a shit ton of demons into the world. It's one of the first times where other hunters notice them and are like, "No, but that's you guys' fault. Like we hunt stuff that causes things like this, and you caused that." Also, we're all pretty sure that there's a rumor going around that Sam, whatever long-term plan, is the Antichrist.
So like, is the long-term thing for Supernatural like, man, like after like 6 seasons of this, like don't like at a certain point, like man, maybe you guys should just accept death.
Absolutely. By season 6 or 7, and from there forward, almost every character in the show at some point says to the brothers, we wouldn't be in apocalypse, A through H, if you guys could simply accept losing family like everyone else does. And like the brothers are clear about it, of like, yeah, I see that. It's insane. But yeah, we're starting to pile that up now. Of course, we watched Korra, which we'll discuss on Patreon this week. You watched an episode of Inside Job. I ended up watching episode 1 all the way through of that. God, that show is good. I want there to be more. I would shake my fist at the sky and yell at clouds. Like, get more Inside Job.
I got 2 parts, I guess. But
yeah, they're calling them 2 parts now, like they intended it.
I guess maybe animation is more expensive than I think it is, because they are ending Lower Decks, even though it's popular.
Dude, I'm just gonna get
doing numbers.
I'm gonna get some kind of shitty AI season of this, aren't I?
No,
we don't have enough water on the planet.
I was gonna say, like, if
the planet's only like 70% water, we can't animate a whole thing in AI.
We maybe if it was CGI animation, some cheap ass shit.
Watch the movie Rookie of the Year, about a little phenom playing for the Cubbies. 12 years old, I believe. Breaks his arm, can suddenly throw a 100-something-mile-an-hour fastball. Put the high stinky cheddar on it.
I was alive in the 90s. Yeah, I remember watching Disney sports movies, man.
We talked about this the other day and geeked out about, like, oh yeah, I remember that movie. I love that movie. And then I went and found it on Disney Plus, and I threw it on. I think you came in around the second act, maybe into the third.
Yeah.
And ended up like watching the back half of it.
I watched when he got sold to the Yankees, because of course he does.
Of course he did. Fish. Oh man. And Daniel Stern being his absolute 90s weirdest. Oh, he lays it on fucking thick in this movie. Brickma, the pitching coach. And Gary Busey at remarkably normal. Like, Gary Busey could actually have a relationship with a human mom.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like he's gonna date that kid's mom, and I don't feel like I need to call services about it.
Before his bike accident?
Dude, something, man. There's that I'm with Busey wildness that is not here.
No, but like
this is not the Ginger Dead Man.
I mean, I'm not as familiar with Busey's line of work, but he had an accident, right? Like a motorcycle accident, and was.
That feels right. I don't know if that's right, but I'm going with that as headcanon, because otherwise I cannot explain it.
Maybe I'm not going off of like I'm just remembering
how is he
this.
saner looking than Charlie Sheen?
Not like I remember that being not unlike Martin Lawrence.
I mean, how is Charlie Sheen saner looking than Gary Busey? I mean, but that just doesn't seem right.
Yeah,
Charlie Sheen is my measure of celebrity insanity for guys.
It's not a bad measure. Like that's like, well, you're at a half a Sheen right now.
Right.
You gotta knock some Sheen off.
You gotta knock some Sheen off that. Yeah.
You mean shine?
No, I don't. No. You got to be just this side of the line. You look employable, sir.
No.
Then also keeping up with Evil, which is wrapping up its final season. There's just a few episodes left, and it is getting really fun. Like, everybody's making bigger and crazier moves on a show that is nothing but big crazy moves. They've baptized the Antichrist. A couple of characters, just like one of them publicly announced the other one's death. Didn't kill him, just publicly announced their death. That like caused just straight hell on them for a day.
Yeah.
Also, they were president of a company at the time, so it tanked their stock. Because they issued a tweet that we are so sorry to have lost of the in the company family of so and so, and then an immediate follow-up tweet: we do not expect that this will affect our stock price. Like, just brought everybody's attention to the stock price and fucking tanked it. It's great.
So 1988, the Gary Busey was involved in a motorcycle accident. He was not wearing his helmet, fracturing his skull, and suffering permanent brain damage.
All right, so 88's the magic moment.
So I guess we have to be careful how much we make fun of this man. Like, it's it's genuinely sad.
No, the man's a triumph of the human spirit. Now that I know that.
Anyway, you were saying.
I was I tried to start Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and I did not make it very far in, maybe 5 minutes tops. I'm gonna have to give that a shot when I'm in a more charitable mood. the Ghostbusters franchise is so far off of Ghostbusters now, and I don't mean the inclusion of women. I mean, I mean that the first one felt like dingy chain smoking weirdos who were putting together a semi-legal ghost hunting business.
So
and this is the man. When I turned it off was they come flying out of they're in New York. They're in the firehouse. Carrie Coons and Paul Rudd and the kids, and they got the Ecto-1, fucking awesome. They come flying out of the fire station going to bust a ghost, and I can't explain over a podcast how this, I can't demonstrate it, but Paul Rudd driving a car in this movie, like driving the Ecto-1, I know he's not driving, it's a towed car, obviously, right? But his job is acting.
Look, I know he's not driving a real car, but his job is to act like he is.
And I can't explain how the bounce back and forth, wheels on the bus, he's got this, and he's turning, and it's got that Paul Rudd smile.
He's Paul Rudd. When's the last time he's driven himself anywhere? Come on,
no, man,
he's just out of practice.
Yeah. It broke me. I was like, okay, we're gonna do this later, otherwise I'm gonna rip this movie to shreds. This will be unfair. No, I'm already mocking how Paul Rudd fake drives a car.
How we do everything with nostalgia goggles nowadays, or legacy things, like we would try to do for the Jurassic Park franchise and Star Wars and anything, we try and hold it with a reverence of things that came before, of how important those movies are. And the lore and how it, how everything is a big deal, showing the Ecto-1 and the proton packs for the first time. And you're supposed to go, oh yeah, I mean, this is all important. When the first movie, it's hard to do that with a movie franchise when the first movie is about how unsexy
all of this is.
It's just a blue collar, what if the apocalypse was boring maintenance stuff?
Right. What if factory workers stopped ghosts? Yeah.
Yeah, what if it was a plumber? You had to call a plumber to to clean out your evil gutters. It's not which is the entire gag of it.
Right.
So how do you make a movie that reflects that while simultaneously trying to suck the previous movie's dick?
Well, and they also have to every single movie bend over backwards to explain why they are not famous for this. Every time, in more and more ludicrous fashion,
and it kind of doesn't. I mean, they show, what was it?
I liked it in 2 that they basically got the shit suit out of them,
right? But even in 2,
even 2 that barely
2
holds.
They recognize that there's no more ghosts ever, but the city recognizes that they did something for them one time, and it's just New York, and it's what have you done for me lately,
right?
But in the new one, Paul Rudd goes to EPA Dickless or whatever,
who's mayor now.
Which is not how politics really work. But whatever.
Yeah, I don't think.
I don't think he left the EPA to go run for a local.
Right.
But he says oh yeah, you saved the world that one time with only 4 with no eyewitnesses, and I'm like, the fuck you hundreds if not thousands of people saw a State Puft Marshmallow Man attack a building,
right? All of New York sang up the skirt of the Statue of Liberty.
Exploded. There was mountains of physical evidence.
We yelled Wilson Pickett up a skirt of the Statue of Liberty so that she could dance and move. Everybody saw it. Again,
the whole gag is how real it is, because now it's so real you can have a phone answering service to call people to come take care of this for you.
Right.
You can't have it be mystical and magical, but that's how we treat old properties from the 80s. That's how the Stranger Things of it comes along, and for me, it doesn't feel right.
No, and I'm going to give this movie another shot because of my nostalgia goggles, but it was tough and I turned it off. The last thing that I watched that we're not going to discuss weekly on the show, but was a big drop on Netflix that's getting some good buzz, talking about nostalgia properties, The Decameron, which is a Canterbury Tales style book that I had to read in college. I'm sure other folks had to read various times in college. It's 100 stories. There's a framing device. Rich people go out to the countryside, tell each other stories to entertain themselves. So what the show does, instead of being insanely reverential or about doing that exactly like that, Decameron, it's on Netflix. It kind of makes the framing device the stories. So you get this set of people that by just a little bit into the first episode are all out of the fucking bring out your dead plague problems city. Like it's just dead after dead after dead person. Like so that like people are coming to the door and like we're inviting so and so and so and so and so and so to out to my yeah. Like the guy shows up to invite one family out to this villa for this rich guy. And they're going down the list like, okay, well they're dead and they're dead. And they like listen for a moment to someone coughing upstairs and like they're dead. So that's just me then. All right, we can go. Do you need to go outside? Nope. So all these people show up out to the countryside and they've all got their various reasons, plague most of all, to want to make sure to stay in the good graces of their host. Because you don't want to have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And you are literally just house guests. So like, if this guy gets bored with you or doesn't think you're cool or you're not making the party fun, you could get sent. Only their host isn't there yet. And so like very quickly, like by episode 2, there's so much shit piling up of like who's already like who has just inherited or lost a ton of fortune because there's no other family left, and like the amount of people like who actually owns this villa, who like the plague is so widespread and bad that no one knows what's going on and it's getting worse. Like but everybody's got there's a royal lady or whatever highborn lady and her servant. Her servant is the weirdo that writes the alien plays in Sex Education.
Okay, yeah.
She's fucking great. There's another there's a lady that's trying to marry the guy that owns the villa or is supposed to be betrothed to him. And her servant is the main girl from Dairy Girls.
Oh shit.
And she's fucking great.
Fantastic. Yeah, Erin is from Dairy Girls, yeah.
She has smuggled her sapphic lover to the villa in a barrel. She never leaves the barrel. She just gets like she brings her food to the barrel. She can't leave because we do like catch her. Like so she's just in the barrel. She just gets food. It shows like it very quickly. It just starts to pile up. I don't know that it's the great, but it's the very good.
Oh, so you're trying to hide your gay? What are you in the closet? Oh, I wish. I
wish I'd love a closet.
Wish it was what I wouldn't give for a closet.
My God, no, I'm in the barrel. Yeah, it's the Decameron over on Netflix. I would say give it the first episode and see if you dig the favorite, the great kind of vibe.
I really like the great, but then again, I did drop off of it. So
yeah, and it's definitely it takes a moment to get used to everybody. There's a royal with a definitely quack doctor that's just Munchausen by proxy, and this dude, like if you found a rich guy who's a hypochondriac and you're a half-assed doctor, it's definitely worth your while to
like. Oh yeah, man, you're pretty sick. You better keep me around,
right?
For sure.
Like somebody finally asked, like, how often do you vomit? Well, twice a day, but that's healthy. Like, what? Like, oh yeah, that's how medicine works. You expel the bad. Duh.
Dude, like that might not be just like that. Just might be general knowledge in like the time period.
Yeah, like watching them try to deal with the plague and obviously have no fucking clue how disease works is sad and brutal.
Well, luckily nowadays we know exactly how plagues work and readily,
and we just don't. Yeah, no, it's worth watching. I'm really enjoying it. I've done about there are hour-long episodes, so like a lot happens per episode. I think I've watched 2 a night, and I haven't binged it. But yeah, I would check it out. What have you been watching?
I watched Peacock. I guess was my favorite streaming server this week because I watched Ghosts the last season.
That's Paramount.
Oh, is that Paramount? Yeah, you're right. Nope, it was Paramount then because I watched Baywatch on that too. I think.
Yes, you watched the Zach. No, let's be clear. The movie.
Yeah, the movie.
The Rock, Zac
Efron,
and Adrian Palicki and Daddario.
Alexander Daddario. Yeah, was it Palicki? No, that was Daddario. I don't know if Palicki's in it.
No, but I just saw Palicki on Supernatural. Maybe why I'm thinking that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, Daddario. That cast is crazy.
Yeah, and Anka Chopra is the bad guy in it, which is pretty cool. Honestly, they get a lot of mileage out of the joke of like the cop that's there, like you were we were in lifeguard pursuit. Oh, like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were in lifeguard. Except that's not a fucking thing.
Yeah, no, the running joke through the entire movie of people just looking at the Rock and like, dude, you're a lifeguard.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, I was in lifeguard pursuit.
My job is to protect the beach. Like, no, your job is to like save drowning people,
Right.
not to fight drug dealers.
Right.
Like, I beg to differ.
God, when yeah, I forgot how they've got like that movie's a good Beverly Hills Cop-ish kind of thing to me.
I also
Like
like
it's
that.
just a silly, fun movie. I think what we brought up for me when you were watching it, it's what I wanted from Chips.
Yeah. Of the recognizing that it is silly, but also having a lot of fun with the. Honestly, the concept is like it's a. You could see the 21 Jump Street of it immediately. Like, oh, what a silly concept. What a great way to make a comedy out of it.
Does it seem like she is always running in slow motion? You see it too?
You see it too? And she's always wet, but not like very wet.
Really wet? But yeah, I really enjoyed Baywatch.
I also watched, what was it? Yeah, I watched I Love You, You Hate Me.
Oh,
which
the
was, I think,
Barney
was Paycock,
documentary.
which was interesting in the fact that it's not very interesting. I mean, the production of Barney is not, there was no drama behind it. Everyone on board, like they interview everybody and they're like, I know it's trite and boring, but we all honestly were just trying to make something for kids. We didn't have, there was no secret like drama behind it.
Adults didn't like it.
Like Barney's not a pedophile. Like no,
somebody took a shot at the guy in the suit one time. That's the closest to drama they had. I think.
Well, the guy in the suit, the second guy in the suit, because the first guy in the suit quit or whatever. The second guy in the suit eventually became a tantric sex instructor or whatever after he was done with Barney, because he was of it at the time, but he signed a agreement, NDA, while he was playing Barney, like, hey, while you're playing Barney, you can't mention the tantric sex healing thing.
Right.
And he's like, cool, won't do that. And then he did it for like over a decade and was like, okay, well, I've done Barney and now I'm going to go off and
do my thing.
Again, like it wasn't like he was caught doing it. Later he just when he was done playing Barney, he went off to go do his tantric thing and now he didn't have to talk about it anymore. Right. And we treated like that like it was a big
the guy has really great meditative sex like Sting.
Right.
It doesn't negate the Police albums.
Man, he does have a thing of where he goes to appointments and and the interviewers are like, so these women pay to have sex with you, and he's like, no, how what happens is that they pay for a full session of that includes the tantric meditation, the massage, there's physical elements to it.
That's hand stuff.
But anything that happens after that is just fully on request and and happens gratis. So I'm like, man, it's starting to it
feels like there is no legal way in front of a cop to distinguish when did you turn around 3 times? Do you change a hat? What do? Do you go over the top?
Well, he makes it to I don't charge extra for that. That's just, it's you can
okay.
They're trying to make it to where that's a separate part of that's not part of the paying but you're paying for the previous part. It's hard to delineate, and I feel like once you're having that argument with a cop, you're right. Already I'm
gonna take this bottle of massage oil, put it behind my back, and bring out this bottle of lube.
But honestly, what they really get into is just the fact that because Barney was made in an ironic era.
Oh yeah,
of the 90s.
The 90s were brutal. Gadzooks had t-shirts and shit.
Barney is unironic, even more so than say Sesame Street.
Right.
Adults can share Sesame Street with their children because they grew up with it. And honestly, it has Sesame Street is weird and psychedelic. There's
kind of a groovy weirdness to it. Yeah.
And they can't honestly watching that. It showed me that parents hated it because their kids were obsessed with it and played it all the time, and they were angry because they just didn't understand it, and they were like, is it hurting my kid or not? Right. And honestly, it just showed me how selfish parents are, because they couldn't share something with their kid, they hated it. Right. Even though I'm like, man, your kid can just have something that doesn't involve you whatsoever.
Right. I cannot explain enough how none of the shows your kids are watching are for you.
I feel like some of eventually all of you work this out in therapy later.
Maybe.
But then some of it I thought was legitimately fun. There was when the internet first hopped on, there was a group, art role-playing group that basically played a game where Barney, BAR/Nay or whatever, was a evil deity trying to take over America, and you role-played as parents trying to stop him and Barney and his friends. And I'm like, okay, that kind of sounds funny. That sounds like a parody.
I want to say that there was a skin for Wolfenstein or something back in the day,
But
Doom or something that you could
and so
reskin for Barney.
they get a cease and desist, and they're like, "Oh man, we're just a bunch of kids on the internet. If they come at us, we have to shut down."
Right.
But they lost so bad their first
Time in
lawsuit
court. Yeah.
because someone at a baseball game, one of the damn it, now I remember which team he played for, but this little bird or whatever, this mascot, basically had a dance battle with Barney, and then like when Barney equivocally beat him, like did a breakdance version, like it's part of the gag. It's like, but he challenges Barney like, "Oh, you lame Barney," and beats him, and then the guy like, "Oh, okay, like I'll you won and then he throws him over the stands. Like honestly,
It's a pretty good bit.
it's funny. It's a pretty funny bit. But again, they bring a guy on that looks exactly like Barney. It is Barney. They call him Barney, and that's copyright.
Absolutely.
And
Also,
and
that
so
is a funny bit for adults, but like literally, that's like
Right.
bringing out Santa and whooping his ass at a ball game.
And that's what a
It's
bunch
gonna
of
fuck your kids
and
up.
that's the first time the Barney people got mad about it because they're like,
no,
"Hey,"
that's going to mess your kids up.
and I don't know how they lost because like copyright wise, you think that that's a tight case. Like, hey, you used our person without permission.
Right.
They lost so bad that they had to pay the legal fees
Oh my
to
God.
that to the mascot guy.
Oh my God.
So, and then after that, they just stopped legally fighting.
Yeah, because I was a smart ass teenager at the time. I had a I Hate Barney shirt from Gadzooks, and the underground newspaper we put out that nearly got me suspended from school was definitely like a third or more Barney jokes, probably.
I can only imagine is because they let so much stuff go before then. It's the Disney argument of if you let one copyright strike go and you don't argue it in court, it actually weakens your argument for future.
It sets precedent that
It sets precedent that you don't care about this.
Yep.
So I'm imagining that because they didn't care about it for so long, it took years before they
No, but if you don't defend it, it makes your ability to defend it later
harder. So I can only assume that's what fucked them up. They don't really go into the legal thing.
That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say it's only 2 episodes long, and Barney was a phenomenon. So you should like.
I mean, I definitely remember him.
If you're unfamiliar with him, it's interesting.
I love you.
Yeah,
you love me. Yeah, we know we won't get sued for singing that song.
Yeah, but the controversy is around the reaction to Barney, not Barney himself. You're not going to learn anything dark or weird about Barney or the crew.
That's the thing. There's not anything dark or weird about Barney, really.
Until the end, where the kid,
Dan Snyder,
the woman, oh, if only, the woman who created Barney, her kid ended up killing somebody.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, but unrelated to Barney, he was an adult. He made it all the way to adulthood.
Right.
He just, I think they were like,
anybody can be a murderer. Yeah.
They all said that he had a hard time growing up because Barney was his unofficial sibling that could do no wrong.
Right.
And like had a hard time competing with his mom for this,
That's like discovering that Christopher Robbins is a real kid and did not have an idyllic childhood.
And kind of got it fucked up over that. Which is weird because she created Barney for him because like she didn't think there was enough simple enough
like good stuff out there. Yeah.
Man, they traded tapes back in the day for Barney things to get up. They didn't have any money for a marketing department. They spent money on the costume rather than the
which
marketing.
really worked. But yeah, man, they knew what they were doing. They figured it out.
We also watched some more of Kite Man. We talked about Kite Man last week, right?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Kite Man's all right. I feel like we got more of the last season of Harley Quinn. The third episode was better.
I thought Villigan's was pretty good.
Villigan's was good.
With Dollface.
And the new episode with so Portal Potty is the new episode.
Yeah, they're a riff on like Hot Tub Time Machine.
Right. It's a toilet. Number 2 takes you back. Number 1 takes you forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. This hits like the last season of Harley Quinn where it's fine. I'm not saying they won't give us like a BITCH episode or something, but I'm not in love with it the way I was with season 1 of Harley.
Well, there's only one joke for a lot of stuff. Like there's a scene where they have Queen Bee in it, and I only know she's Queen Bee because she has a crown on and she has a bee thorax or whatever.
Right.
Because in the comics, Queen Bee is just a character that can control men and some women. Like they make a big deal out of that every time. Like Like, I don't know if it has to deal with sexual orientation or not, but she
Yeah, I
has
don't
mind
know.
control powers. And in this one, the joke is that she's a bee. So the joke really only works if you know who Queen Bee is in the comics.
Right. Well, and she's
And-
hitting on Bane kind of, but like she's
Right.
half it like, oh, my lemon wedge has fallen
And
into
she's
my
a slutty
breasts.
bee.
Yeah.
That's the gag. And I'm
Right,
like,
right.
really? There's not.
But it doesn't even go on that long. Like he immediately walks past her. Like,
Right. Well, I mean, you know, I think they
I
would
think
be
part of the joke is that he also killed, like, he stomps on a fly and he killed
Yeah.
her date.
right. As part of like a butterfly effect
Right.
thing that they were doing. But like, you don't even want to do some bee puns, or like, I'm not saying I want those, but it would add something to this
Mhm.
scene.
You want this joke to have a stinger?
Yeah, I want this. I want it to, you know, have a little wind beneath its wings, you know. But also, Golden Glider always had powers.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not familiar with Golden Glider. or
Well,
whatever,
in which
but
Golden Glider? This is clearly New 52, where
I
she's
thought
got
this-
the golden body demon thing.
I thought this Golden Glider would be like her origin episode, but no,
No, she just manifests these powers like a mutant.
right. It leaves it to a point off with her mom that might be kind of interesting, but honestly, I don't think I care enough about Golden Glider yet for this to really register.
And she's the character I care most about on this show at this point. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if you hadn't reminded me the show was on, I had absolutely forgotten.
Right.
And season 3 was the best they'd done, or episode 3 was the best they'd done.
I think I'll keep an eye on it just because I'm gonna miss Harley Quinn for at least another season,
Mm-hmm.
and hope that it comes back or whatever. But like, if next season doesn't, hopefully next season they'll get to the story they want to tell. Because a lot of the problem with the last season was felt like they just didn't want to tell that Harley Quinn hero story.
Yeah. Currently, I got nothing on Max I'm watching in terms of streamers.
Nah, I mean they just gave up everything they were doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm about to go watch a show that they could have had, but it's going to be on Amazon Prime.
they have My Adventures with Superman that apparently has a season 3, so that's
yeah.
good.
Yeah. So like next year, I'll turn it back on.
Yeah, not quite the hell yeah that we were hoping for.
No, it's Kite Man. Come.
Kite Man. What was that? Whoa. Did I just hear the wind say Kite Man?
I think you're alone.
Hell yeah.
Good God.
Now, it feels like a good time to mention that if you haven't joined us over at patreon.com/tvdudes, you can throw down $1 an episode and get bonus content every single week. You're only charged for the bonus episodes. So for $4 a month, let's say, you get double the podcast. Or for $5 an episode, you can get your review of a show read on the pod every single week.
Indeed. Or for $20, you can do what John Paul did this week and pick 4 episodes of something.
Anything.
And we'll watch it. But this week, we watched something John Paul discovered, unearthed, unprisoned, if you will.
You ready to be unprisoned?
Yes, sir. Oh, hallelujah!
And I assume he'll be living with you.
Oh, no, that's a
Absolutely
no-go.
not.
Stage, you dating any black men yet?
Oh, God.
When I get to meet my grandson. Your mama said I could take you to ice cream, so we can bond. I might have a proposition for you. You have a driver's license?
People are looking.
A little nod. No, ma'am, not up. Yeah, all right. You kidding.
Indeed, this show is way under the radar. He actually, he did name another. There's a show called The Green Veil with John Leguizamo, which he says is more under the radar. And I believe him because I haven't heard of it.
Sure.
But Unprisoned, this should not be under the radar. It has a great cast. Kerry Washington, everybody knows from Scandal, is Paige Alexander. And Delroy Lindo is Edwin Alexander, her dad, who has been imprisoned for the past 17 years and gets out of prison at the start of the show. And then I don't know this actor before, but Folly Rakoto Havana is Finn, Paige's son. Man, he over the season kind of steals the show for me. I fucking love it. I love Finn.
Yeah.
But what's it about?
So there's like 2 seasons of this, right?
There's now 2 seasons
Now
of
2
it.
seasons,
Yes,
okay.
season 2 just dropped.
So it premiered in 2023.
Yes, March in 2023. So it's a Unprisoned is a comedy television series created by Tracy McMillan. McMillan is a relationship expert that's been on Oprah and all sorts of shit.
Uh-huh.
And this is basically her story. It's absolutely about like shit that really happened to her in her childhood and life.
Right.
So it's starring Kerry Washington and Delroy Lindo. Produced by Onyx Collective. Premiered on Hulu March 2023. Got positive reviews. In November, it got renewed, and the season 2 dropped just recently, July 17th this year.
So I can't tell if the woman who made this, what was her name?
Tracy McMillan.
Tracy McMillan. I can't tell if Tracy McMillan is.
She looks so much like Kerry Washington in this.
Man, they fucking nailed it.
It's crazy.
Nailed it. Like, you showed me the picture, I was like, oh shit.
Well, I know who's playing you.
I can't tell if she's the most self-aware person and is really just putting her shit on the line and just out there.
By the end of the season, I think so.
But
we'll
if
discuss.
she'd really, or if she's unaware of how she comes off. But by the end of the season, I feel like, oh shit, I think she's being really honest about.
I think she is. At the start of the show, I thought she was an incredibly oblivious person who'd written a show about herself, and by the end of it, I think she might be the most brutally self-effacing person. Like, you don't come off good in this, but you do have a real arc.
I think, like, yeah, to the point of like, if I were to ask her, I think you'd like, no, I'm kind of the villain of the first season, at least.
Right. Like you. So her dad gets out of prison at the start of the show after 17 years. He's missed her whole life, basically.
Right. And it sounds like he's been in and out of prison before that.
It's not all been consecutive yet.
Yeah.
Like I think he's been
this
gone.
last one was just the longest stretch.
Right. But it sounds like she's been dropped off multiple times while he went to prison. And then every time he gets back out, I've got you back, baby. We're back together as a family. It'll never happen again. And then dad gets arrested again, and she goes back into either foster care dropped off at what I'm pretty sure is a prostitute he had.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's
and so was. Knowing that by the end of the season, you get why Delroy Lindo, why she hates him and has all these rules about not trusting him to a stunning degree.
Right.
But for most of the series, you're in the position that everybody who meets Delroy Lindo is. He's crazy fucking charming, y'all. And every single person is like, no, I get it. He fucked up in your childhood. All parents fuck up. But he's look at how much he loves you now. And so she's left being the person who feels crazy in every scene and comes off as like, well, why are you being like this to him? And she's like, you don't fucking know him.
It starts off with
we don't know him.
Well, it starts off with her not letting him stay at her place. And even the parole officer is trying to like, not tell her what to do, but like, look, I mean.
Well, he's like, so where are you going to stay? Oh, I got a friend, Fox.
Yeah.
Okay, is Fox in the life? Because that sounds like an in the life name.
Like, Fox doesn't sound like his God-given name.
Right. He's like, man, you used to be. And like the parole officer's like, okay, so hey, your dad how does he put it? So do you have a couch? Yeah. Cool. So your dad's going to stay on the couch, right?
Well, he has to like break down like, look, if you're in any way invested in your dad staying out of prison, then you kind of have to do this.
Right.
Like,
and she kind of
if you don't give a fuck, then
at this point in the amount of burnt bridges, she's no longer invested in him staying out of prison so much as she is waiting for the shoe to drop on him going back to prison because he is inevitably going to fail her.
Right.
But what that might have started as a protective defense mechanism where she was in the right, but at this point now, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and she doesn't see it. It is this huge blind spot in this. She's a professional therapist. That's where she's making her real money. But like, this is a huge blind spot that occasionally hits her like a truck. But it takes the season. I mean, it takes the season. 10 episodes.
Multiple people confronting her about it.
Yes. In more and more blunt language.
10 episodes. 10 episodes.
So John Paul on the Patreon challenged us to watch first four episodes.
Tell you what, bitch. We watched the whole.
Goddamn of season 1. This is
John. Hey, I know we make fun of some of your other picks. I wasn't around for Big Dogs, but apparently it did some damage here. So John, like, have burnt bridges with Les, and I didn't understand why. He felt like oh no, trust me, this show will fail us at some point. I don't know why. I had to get to the root of the problem of why.
So defensive. Like, I realized every time like we'd finish an episode and I would go back through everything that was good about it, but it would always be from a like, and surprisingly, This is a really, and then shockingly, this actually, and then I think that this is pretty well written, if I'm not mistaken. And then I realized why. I am so sorry. Much like the main character in the show, I did not see the chip on my shoulder about this, or the sty in my own eye, or whatever.
We had a meta own.
I did. I had a
discovery journey.
Yeah,
throughout this.
I had a real breakthrough where I realized that I wasn't trusting John Paul's choices, and this show's fucking exceptional. And
John Paul's just trying to start a new leaf, trying to get out of that life.
Right.
Trying to get off that big doll's life, and you're just not giving him a chance.
Just not giving him a chance, man. He tried. Yeah. So you crushed it with this pick. This was a really great show. We were at odds, like at different times, like yelling at the TV of like how crazy she seems, and then realizing, oh my God, she's gonna get it. No, damn it, get it.
Well, yeah, she the biggest problem with the show for me was like the problem with Minx is that she kind of starts over after every episode, and unlearns a lot of lessons she learns. But honestly, unlike the Minx and like what was it we watched, Snack Shack, where Brooke was supposed to not be the villain,
right?
Like the show gets it.
No,
like,
no,
the show,
that's what's shocking. By the middle of the season, you start to realize that this show gets it. Well, we had a like distinct moment in Snack Shack where you realize that they don't.
Yeah.
That like, oh no,
and
you think everything's been okay? Fuck.
And we were waiting for that moment in this, but we ended up getting the opposite of like, oh no.
So in the course of all this messy bullshit of Delroy trying to get his driver's license and his birth certificate so that he can get a job, so that he can get his parole crap going, so that he can do whatever, his daughter starts dating his fucking parole officer.
Wow. I mean,
and like, her previous guy was like a boring, unavailable Tim Daly.
Well, Lindo gives her shit about like, hey, you dating any black people yet?
Oh
like,
my God. It's like the first thing he says to her coming out of prison.
I was like, God damn.
He's like, I'm sorry. I came in hot there. Sorry.
but he is like the boringest white dude.
Right.
And yeah, she starts dating the parole officer. And I'm like, man, I don't know, like, maybe date anybody else. Like the parole officer seems like a cool dude, but like cool people get hurt and do shitty things. Like when things don't work out.
Like I'm just saying, I don't think that this is going to be like your life mate. And when it blows up, and you can't predict what he'll.
And by the end of the season, she does fuck him, him over, and he ends up being professional and cool,
right,
with Lindo.
Oh yeah, like he gets him out of. He gets him out of jail when she won't.
Well, that was a whole rough episode to watch of just us yelling at the screen of like, go get your fucking dad out of prison.
Wednesday, you fucking.
But it's a slow walk up because man, Lindo lies to her about this job he's get because honestly, people hired him didn't realize that they have an unofficial policy of not hiring. Mm-hmm. It's not stated. But
they sent him a $10 gift card and an apology letter.
He ran it up to corporate, didn't think it would be a big deal because technically it's not against the rules. But then corporate comes back like, yeah, it's not written anywhere because we don't want to get sued. But you're not hiring a fucking felon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, that man sucks. And
dude, he finds it out at dinner with her.
They have the dinner. The dinner's on like, and she's telling him like, all but tells him that him staying with her, she's proud of him, but him staying with her is predicated on this job.
Yes.
And so, like, he lies about it.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to, like...
And then when she finds that out, inevitably, she blows up...
finds that out because he tells her after he has a new job. Gig.
Yes.
Like, oh, so I'm working at the thrift store, and the reason I'm working there is because I actually got fired from that previous... He does all the things right.
She stops him in that explanation right there and just stops listening. Like, she's... And like... Yeah, and this actually gets to the only kind of magic-y thing that the show does. So she stops him at that explanation and just stops listening, like fingers in her ears, la la la, because
all she hears is that you lied to me.
Yeah, and at those points, she emotionally drops back to where he first really burned her. Like she is like, you know, most people that had fucked up parents, you're stuck somewhere around whenever you had to be your own adult. And the show actually shows you this. The first time it happened, I was still very deep in my not trusting the show. Well,
it's a gimmick, and I was like,
so mad about it.
I was like, oh man, this is gonna get old.
It's gonna get real old. It's really nicely done.
The show uses it to show us what happens with her when you let your 10-year-old self drive and make most of your decisions.
Right. Because like her inner child appears.
Yeah.
And is basically like an anger translator. Like just starts fucking like says all the shit that she should say for the first part of the season.
Right.
You slowly realize over the show that that's a child telling this adult like all of the things to do, and the fact that she's more right in these situations is a problem.
Right.
And she's a child. And so at the crux of the show, that like the arc that she has to learn, like the final learning moment, is her realizing that she needs to stop relying on this child to fight her battles for her, and instead let this child be a child. And she just gives her inner child a hug and lets her go play. And
Right.
it's the first like healthy moment.
It's
But
like
there's a point in the
like
season where you think
Fleabag.
she needs that kid to
Mhm.
protect her, and then realizing, oh God, you shouldn't need that kid.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
but yeah, it started out the first time they did it, it felt hokey to me, and I was
hokey
like,
and on the
holy
nose.
fuck,
Like,
this is gonna get old. But by the end of it, I have respect for the way they handled that on almost a Fleabag level. They do it with multiple characters. The moment you see Delroy almost lose his shit when they go to find his birth certificate, I think. Because he doesn't have he needs
They
the
go to
birth
the-
certificate to get a picture ID, and they won't get it without a picture ID.
you don't give him the certificate without the picture
Yeah,
ID, and he basically has one of her mental breakdowns. And
you see exactly. Oh, it's like seeing genetically what, like, oh my God, that's exactly how your daughter has a panic attack.
and it's like, oh, you've learned to mask yours in this machismo
Mm-hmm.
of like, I'm smooth and I'm like a,
Oh, nothing bothers me. I'm cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and she's maxed hers in this professionalism
Right.
of I'm a doctor and like, I'm a psychiatrist, and I wonder how the son is gonna mask fucking his, like, because like he's not getting out of this with some psychological damage, that's for sure.
Right.
But that episode, I thought, got me emotionally in a way that I was very shocked by, because wow, you two are having a real moment right now. Like,
Mhm.
you're realizing your dad, you seen your dad as this fuck up that wasn't there for you as like just a,
Because he just didn't like you, or
because he
didn't
didn't
want
like
to, or whatever.
because he couldn't commit, or he's
Right.
just like, and then you saw him as a human being that is like, well, man, maybe he just, he fucks up like I do, because he has a hard time dealing with
Well, and-
stressful situations, and the fact that he turns to crime because he's up against this system that really, at every turn, it's going to be easier for him to just go and run something for this drug dealer he
Well, and
knows.
That's also the episode where she finds out, and we can't believe she doesn't know this already. She finds out why they left the town they're in, where his grandmother's house is, still sitting there full of their shit.
Hey, why'd you leave this house in Alabama?
And I mean, they didn't pack it; they just left it, and no one ever went back and packed it. And it's been his whole life.
Yeah.
So like, in 55, 60 years, this house is just sitting there with their shit still in it. And I was like, what happened? And I can't imagine why this guy thinks the system will always keep him down, will always be unfair, will always show up in the middle of the night and take everything you have.
Be ready to be on the move.
Right.
Like,
because when he was like 8 or something, like little,
right.
he and his siblings are there with their grandmother, I think, when the sheriff just rolls up in the middle of the night, drags their grandmother out of the house, returns her beaten,
Yeah.
just whooped. And I mean, amazed they returned her alive, but she's just wailed on. And
They pack up
they got in the car that night and left.
that night, left.
Never
dropped
came back to
everything.
that town.
And it's embarrassingly not that long ago.
No,
Like,
no.
What was it, like the 80s or something? Like it
Yeah.
was, and it's showing his child what I thought was important there, because she realizes he didn't age past a certain point either.
Mm-hmm.
He learned about life and how it worked there, and that's how he sees the world, and that's how he's been taught honestly, he's been the system he's in now.
He's tested these lessons out. This is how it works for them. For
Dude,
him.
the parole system that they're in, they don't get a whole lot into it, but it's still like, it's bullshit.
Man, if he didn't have a cool parole officer who's like, hey, that's some bullshit, I don't like bullshit, But
He gets
they
picked up-
arrest him on a
Well, he gets picked up for driving without a license. Something you or I could probably get out of with a warning, or maybe get, like you said, driven home, and you got to pick
Right.
up your car later.
well, and also as we know, anything that's just a fine is an a la carte crime you can now commit if you have money.
Yeah, and it's not because he was doing anything illegal. His grandson said he was tired and didn't want to drive, and he
Mhm.
said almost
After they have
reflexively,
like a really good bonding day.
yeah, it's a long day for them, and like he's like, yeah, I got you, fam. Like, in the only thing I could think of, like the only mistake he made was that he made them driving with each other. They made that too casual,
Mhm.
and they should him driving without a license. It's unfair, but he should know that that's a risk
But
every
he
time.
knew that was wrong, and that's why he won't, like, he just he takes it on the nose. Like,
It's not like he doesn't make a mistake, but you or I would look at that and go, well, that's an honest mistake. You can't take
Right.
away his entire life because of a momentary lapse in judgment.
like, yeah, we can.
And what Kerry Washington's Paige does in that episode teaches her son,
Oh, that's a damaging moment. Yeah.
because the son is like, well, it's my fault. Grandpa's
we,
there.
We gotta go get him right now. Well, she's doing so. The season also leads up to her big TED talk, which is supposed to be about one thing, which is a stupid topic, and then
Right.
she ends up in the moment just talking about her dad, and so that thing goes viral, and I'm sure that's what season 2 is about.
About just shit talking her dad.
Right. But the son calls her right before the TED talk, and I absolutely understood the like, honey, I got the headset on already. Like the crowd's out there, like I'm like the lights are down.
No, I get
I got to
that.
do this.
Yeah,
but
no.
I literally assumed that after the minute that
the
was
minute
over,
it's
you
done.
walk straight off that stage into a cab and go pick your dad up.
Right.
But the next morning, she wakes up in the bed, and I realize, like, fuck, she's still not gone and gotten him. And then the son point blank, so we're going to get Grandpa, right? And she says, no, I don't owe him that. I'm enjoying my Wednesday. I'm going to go spin class.
I'm going to spin class. That's what I owe myself. Like, I'm going to enjoy my Wednesday, is what she says. And you and me are with the son going, that's a monstrous fucking mindset to have. Your dad, whether his faults or not, even if you don't want to hear the circumstances, you just assumed he's fucking guilty. Maybe you don't care.
No, but she does not
Even
want to
if-
listen to the son about whether or not it was his fault.
Even if
Nothing.
he is guilty of whatever it is you think he is, he's still a human being. Like, this is a next level disregard of
Yeah.
not only him, but your son's wishes. Your son wants to go see your grandpa. Your son wants to help a family member of his. Maybe he doesn't really know. Say you're right about how unreliable your grandpa is. Your son hasn't learned that lesson yet. So only thing he's going to learn from you is that your love is indeed conditional.
Right.
It's how much stress are you putting on her today?
You can burden your mom enough that she will stop.
Because guess
helping
what?
you.
Your son is not that passable. He's somewhat passable, but guess what?
Well,
Like,
we the show even shows us that there's a moment when her mixed race kid, when they're at they're back in Alabama trying to get his birth certificate, they go to a barbecue, her kid's having soul food and stuff for the first time because she makes pretty bland food.
oh my god,
She was raised by Scandinavian foster parents. There's a lot of pickled herring.
mhm.
But the kid's walking over to throw something in the trash can, and there's a white guy standing off there who the audacity of saying this to anybody, but much less misreading this kid, definitely reads him as white
Mhm.
and says a slur about like
Ancient slur.
yeah, like when the kid, so if the kid has to go ask Delroy Lindo, like I'm not gonna repeat it, but like, hey, Grandpa,
yeah,
what
I'm not
does
sure if
this
it's
mean?
cool to repeat, but then
And-
again, it's so like,
And they, the grandpa's like, oh, shit, that's an OG slur, man. Where'd you hear that?
like from when crickets were singing at night in the moon, like
Mhm,
to the moon, like that's what they associate with the slaves as they sang at night,
Right.
and like it's like from the time there were slaves slur,
Like
like
racists put the work in. Yeah.
to like retain that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But your son is gonna get. I'm sorry to say, your son's gonna get into trouble with the law at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Your son's gonna get picked up. Shit happens. Accidents happen. You know, mistakes happen.
Like bad things are going to happen to your kid that are going to be unfair.
yeah.
And
Well,
are you going, like, do you, at this point, she just absolutely does not believe that anything that happens to her dad is not directly her dad's fault. And I get that for a lot of her life, her dad absolutely did that shit that he went to jail for. But like,
right.
he does not argue any of that.
Man, but even you'd want to, as a kid, you want to, even if it is my fault, I would like to think my mom would be there
Right.
for me, and she's teaching me that she won't.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So the other supporting characters that just absolutely fucking steal this thing, there's a couple of them. Brenda
Well,
Strong plays Nadine,
Nadine,
the
Team
stepmom,
Nadine, baby.
and Nadine is a like Madison Avenue, like she is high fashion.
She was
bitch.
She was a call girl.
Yeah,
back in the
day. She is always dressed to the nines. She is stone cold.
Paige spent time
what
with
they call her
her.
dime store Sharon Stone.
Yeah, Paige. I shop at that store though. The Paige spent some time with her before the foster system and just hates her because
Hates her.
how could you leave me with her?
She used to
Like-
make me light her cigarettes.
like-
I'm like, okay, Paige. Well, and Nadine absolutely admits later, I never wanted a kid. I didn't take you in to keep you out of a group home because I feel for kids.
Mhm.
I like your father so much that I was willing to do that for him rather than have his kid go to an orphanage.
Yeah.
And like,
So like you get the feeling like she kept her long enough so that she could find a foster
right,
family. Like,
right. So that she didn't have to go to a group home. Well, you temporarily. Yeah. And that's, I mean,
I'm sorry.
that's a stunning.
I'm Team Nadine.
Yeah.
That is. She
a
didn't
s-
have to do
that's
that.
a stunning gift of your time at home, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, is it the right thing to do? Sure. Is it the thing everyone would do? No.
No.
And you can see the moment where that kind of clicks a little bit for Kerry Washington or for Paige of like,
Mhm.
I don't understand why you did that. Like, because I liked your dad that much. That's what people do for each other. That's what loyalty means. And like,
Yeah.
and you can see her not understand how you could like her dad that much, how anyone could like her dad that much.
Well, because it's showing I'm showed up for your dad in a way that her dad never showed up for her.
Right.
But
and
like,
that's what confuses her.
yeah,
Because she
people-
has learned this transactional thing from being burnt so many times.
and people show up for her dad in a way that she sees as her dad never showing up for anybody. But I'm like, no. He showed up for other people. He just went to jail. Like
Right. And he did not comprehend the amount of damage that was doing to you as a little kid.
right. And it's not like he voluntarily left you, like your husband did when he had your kid, like that dipshit that I feel like gets away in this show without a lot of like
Right,
fucking
right.
heat thrown his way. And then Lindo teaching this Finn about blackness, basically.
Yeah.
About like because Finn has questions about it, and I like, man, there's that point of, I know, man, how do I defend my blackness to other black people, I guess. And Lindo says Lindo in this show is like right almost
Dude,
all the time.
he gets off some sage one-liners that are
'Cause-
fucking brutal.
Well, because
Brilliant.
he's like, oh, dude, defending your blackness to black people is one of the most black things you can do.
It's fucking great. So the other person that gets off an absolutely spectacular line, the parole officer that she dates, Mal,
Yes.
when she, on the day that her dad's in jail, before going to get him out, she goes over there to break up. Well, before that, we should talk about my other favorite character, the stepsister,
Yes.
Esty.
Yes, Esty.
Who's listed in the main cast. I was happy
She's
to
in
see.
a lot of the episodes.
Yeah.
She's not in them for a long time, but she's sprinkled throughout the episodes.
Ji Young
colorfully.
Han is SD Nelson, her foster sister, who's fucking hilarious and is her like friend that'll tell her like it is. So like when she's like, my dad went back to jail and I haven't got him out, like, what the fuck?
Well, she's busy telling him this other stuff of like, oh, I cheated on Mal with that
Yes.
other dude in the office.
I went back and cheated with the boringest white dude I've ever dated, Bill.
And she's like, can I tell you something without judging me? Yeah, of course. So I slept with Steve or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you? And like, hey, so you said you wouldn't judge me. I don't remember saying that. I don't remember making that
Esty's
promise.
fucking great, dude. Esty's hilarious.
And so like she's already mad at her, like, oh, you haven't really heard the worst part. So even Paige knows what she's doing is wrong. And she's like, oh, my dad is in prison and is still in jail, or like got picked up and is still in jail. And she goes, and you just fucking
went to a spin class. We just went to a spin class together
and are now drinking wine in this bar. What the fuck is wrong with you? And she's like the second person to say that. And then so throughout the episode, it's just like 3 people just yelling at her face how wrong she is.
She's like, I think I need to go break up with Mal. Like, no, you need to go. You need to take a beat on that. He doesn't actually know you cheated on him yet. Like her stepsister's giving her like very bro advice.
That
we'll deal with.
You got to go take care of your dad right now, and then everything else can come later.
But she goes to Mal first, And thus begins one of the most like brutally honest stand and applaud breakup speeches I think I've ever heard in a movie or show.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man. Mal tells it like it is as calmly and nicely as he can. And it is brutal.
Some level, man, Mal is the
It is the backhanded compliment that'll
he's-
loosen your teeth.
he's the person you want to be.
Right.
Like, he's classy about it.
Oh, he's so
restrained.
classy about it, man.
He's restrained, but he also gets off, and he gets his feelings out too.
Mhm,
He's not.
mhm.
He's doing what's right for him.
No, he doesn't apologize and bend over about like he doesn't.
No.
He gets to say what he needs to say, but he's also, I don't know, not professional about it, but mature.
Absolutely
But
mature.
yeah, he looks at her and like, hey, you can't hear this right now, and you don't believe this, but you deserve someone great.
Mhm.
And like, aw, that's beautiful because no, she's a mess. She
Right.
deserves love, but she can't receive love.
Right.
And he says, but no one great is going to put up with this shit.
And man, you and I both were like, God,
my
damn, like a Jerry Springer episode of like, "Ooh, damn,
Like, so
that shit cuts
go
cold."
and figure this out. And then that's not the full. He then also talks to Lindo later and gets basically the other half of it of like, hey, so your daughter is a lovely person who cannot receive love or trust anyone. And that's because directly you
fucking
like,
yeah.
And honestly, he even explains it in a way that finally made sense for me in a way that Paige has not explained it. What exactly did Lindo do to you that was so bad in your childhood? Because she fucking hates him. And for the first few episodes, I was like, Jesus Christ, I know he went to jail, but you really hate this dude. The experience of losing, her mom was gone already, but of losing her dad and then getting him back and him swearing it would never happen again.
Right.
And then losing her dad and getting him back. And this happens like 6 or 7 times.
She teaches him not to trust men.
And like, yeah, no, man, by the 4th
love.
time, definitely by the 6th or 7th time, I'm done believing you about anything. Yeah.
Well, that's why
And
she's
like,
cool with being.
my dad didn't go to jail. He didn't do half the shit that Lindo did in this. But I like when she says at the start, like, I've got 2 rules. The first one is like, don't ask to stay with me or something like that. And the second one is don't ever ask me for money.
Mhm.
And I was like, shit, I made rule number 2 when I was 12 for my dad. Like straight up. And I mean, I made it strenuously and seriously enough that when I was in my late 30s, like 40, and he first had cancer, he needed a little bit of money and would not ask me.
Right.
To the point that I had to be like, Dad, that was 30 years ago. Like, you
Right.
can
But
here's $600.
Lessons learned that hard are
But I still
not soon forgot.
like it's still. I mean, like he wasn't wrong to still be thinking about it. I was still thinking about it.
Right. Well, at a point in this
I
show,
was just barely on a case by case basis by that point.
there's a couple points in the show where Paige could fix the ongoing problems. His ice cream stand
Yes.
thing gets fucked up.
She's got money. She could fix that.
It can't be that expensive.
does not help
He
him.
bought it from a thrift shop. It couldn't be that much
No.
money
She
to buy it. To buy another one.
I won't say she allows him to stay in her house and some others, but like
He could pay it back in a day, probably.
Right.
You know, like
but
that's
like,
how.
she does not help him. She at best is like neutral while waiting for him to fuck up.
Well, she acts like him staying there with him
It's
is the
most
putting out. And I'm like, some people would call that the bare minimum, lady.
is what the parole
Don't
officer
fucking-
says.
Don't fucking pat. You're like, don't break your own back patting yourself.
Don't
on
break
it.
your arm patting yourself.
Like what? Well, honestly, when the parole officer thinks you need to go pick up your dad from prison, like, you know, you got to be fucking up, because she tells him and he's like, oh, and like, he doesn't get a chance to really,
Huh.
like, you can tell, like, he still thinks he might have sex with her later. So like, there's not like, he doesn't know that that's off the table. So
Right,
he's
right,
like
right.
not going to say what he's really thinking right now. Like, you
Like-
crazy bitch.
Like you could see his eyes widen a little like, huh. Yeah. No, I really enjoyed this show. I can't wait to watch season 2, which I understand I think has added Stamos at least a little bit, which the Esty, the foster sister, has a thing for Stamos.
Well, it's so funny because he's a actual character. Like, he's not John Stamos. He's a therapist, I guess.
Oh,
Like,
cool.
I saw the first episode, actually.
That's
Like,
hilarious. That's great.
They go on the same talk show, and he rips her fucking ass apart
Oh, wow.
on it about the TED Talk she did for her dad and like her distancing things she's doing, and he's like, I don't think that's healthy at all, but whatever. In national television, him calling out her on like,
Oh, that's awesome.
It's kind of like you, and again, because you're on team Paige is never right.
Right.
And so like John Stamos, like anyone coming in, it sucks because as a white dude, I don't want to be with the white guy telling the black woman how wrong she is about everything. But I swear to God, she's wrong about absolutely everything that comes out of her fucking mouth. Like,
and the show knows it and is structured for it. Like it is the growth point of the show. Like she is an insanely flawed main character at the start of the show. And is learning to heal these things that she to get this healing that she wants, that she's never gotten in her whole life from back in childhood, even though this is her professional job. And so we realized about halfway through the season that like, oh wow, this is a huge fucking risk, honestly, for the show.
right.
Because you've made a character, like it's always a problem that in order for your main character to grow, they've got to start out someplace that the audience doesn't want them to end up. And it's always that delicate balancing act of like, will I hate this person too much in act 1 to make it through? And it's a big risk here because she's so wrong for a couple of episodes at the start where you're like, but Lindo's great. What did he do?
Well, they even end the season where she's pretty wrong. Like she tries to like, eventually she goes to try and pick up her dad, but at that point, the parole officer already went to go get him. It's too late. The damage she's done with her son is now and that's not going to be as soon fixed. Like she tries to make up with him in a later
but
scene.
It sounds so desperate.
And he's like, I hope you enjoyed your Wednesday.
Yeah, it's cold.
Again, another like cold. God damn. I think even Nadine gets off a line because she gets mad at her for like, I can't believe you took him to see his grandfather. The one thing I didn't want him to see, like oh, I'm sorry, he told me it was okay with you, and I for a second forgot you are fucking nuts and are not a normal human being, because a normal human being would just let
that happen.
Happen because it's what those two consenting people want.
Right. No, that's the Nadine's whole speech there is fucking great. This show is wonderful. Thank you so much, John Paul, for recommending it.
What a great hit! Swinging a hit here.
Yeah. I can't wait to watch season 2. It's on Hulu right now, folks. It should not be under the radar. People should go check out UnPrisoned.
Dumb name still.
It is catchy simply because it like trips off the tongue like a brick.
Right.
Like the only reason I can give them points because I don't forget it, but I don't forget it because it's bothering me.
Well, I wish they would at least acknowledge in the show that parole is like, out on parole is such a weird, like, oh man, there's so many rules. You're basically like, it's almost, parole makes it seem like you're on your way out of prison when really parole means you're almost in your way back into prison.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Well, and the term that I'd never heard until I'd known people who really went through all that is off paper. When you are done with parole, when like you are truly free, you're off paper.
Yeah.
That means no parole, no nothing, nobody's checking on you. You are actually done. And you still should go get your shit expunged. That is a separate process that costs money.
Oh my God.
It is fucking bullshit. This is a great show. I think folks should go watch it immediately. Thank you so much, John Paul, for recommending it. And I'd say that probably wraps it up for us this week.
Indeed. Well, next week we are going to be dealing with the prison system yet again, but from a different opposite side of it. Because I believe next week is Prime's Caped Crusader, right?
Yes, Batman Caped Crusader over on Prime, which animation style-wise looks like the old Batman animated series, but from what I saw in the trailer, feels a lot more like a gritty crime series.
Looks like, a little bit of Batman Year One from Bruce Timm.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Let's see what it's like. But until next time,
TV Dudes out.